All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Currency of Anarchy. I'm Josh Davis.
I'm Thomas Shane.
And if you'd like to take a look at if you'd like to be a part of the discussion during our live tapings on Mondays, please check us out at youtube.com/user/Cur of Anarchy. And that's Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And you can see the final product. You know, we take it, we edit it, we add graphics, and make it nice and pretty. And we put it on the air at youtube.com/user/voluntaryvirtues at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on Wednesdays. And thank you very much, Voluntary Virtues, for having us aboard. And if you're here during our live taping right now on Monday, please give us some feedback and comments and put it on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/groups/Cur of Anarchy. So please do that. And I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Corey Hastings. Thank you very much, Corey. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Very good. So I'm going to get the ball rolling tonight. And I'm going to say the first thing I want to talk about, we have a couple of big issues, but let's get the ball rolling with inflation and that thing that we both know that it's always a part of the currency system, but we know that our current currency system is terrible because it overinflates. It inflates the money supply and it inflates the price system such that people like you and I can feel it every day, like prices at our grocery store. You know, it just keeps on growing and growing and growing. People think that it's inherent in a market system, and it kind of is, because if you were to have a currency such as gold or silver, we still have inflation. You know, people are digging for gold, digging for silver. So it's always inflated, but not to the degree as the population grows. So actually, as the population grows and gold kind of grows, then you see kind of a deflation, but not to the degree that people are scared, and the value of that gold actually increases compared to every other consumer good or whatever kind of good. That's what I want to start with. Who would like to jump aboard today?
I'd like to jump on it right there.
Go ahead.
Saying about how it's inherently there's inherently inflation in the market. From what you said. Well,
yeah.
All right. Say for example, we do have a gold-based economy, which obviously we don't. Everybody knows we don't have a gold-based economy anymore. But if we did, say, there's so little gold out there. It's so hard to find the gold, and to get it out of the ores that they find it in. I mean, it's a long and difficult process to actually get because there's so little gold left. Like, you don't find gold nuggets floating down the stream like you used to. Back in the gold rush days. Now they're literally tearing down mountains, and they're finding just minuscule amounts of gold that are they're embedded in iron ores, and they're using chemical processes and all this stuff to get the gold, to separate it from the ore that it's in, to get that gold out. So there is really very little gold out there. So if we did go back to a gold-based economy, there would be little to no inflation whatsoever. And like you said, it would probably be more of a deflation because of the increase of the population.
Yeah, let me backtrack on that real quick, because there is a deflation out there between 1789, the start of the Constitution, to 1913. There was a deflation of the dollar. The dollar grew in value, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, but
Can I interrupt you for a second?
yeah. Yep.
Something a lot of people that don't understand this is a deflation actually means the dollar increases in value.
Correct.
Inflation means the dollar decreases in value. So I just want to clear that up for anybody that didn't understand that.
Well, time out. Hold on. No, there are two definitions of inflation. There's monetary inflation and price inflation. What you're talking about is the price inflation,
Yeah.
because we could say that the gold did inflate, monetarily inflate, because they were grabbing stuff out of the mines, but there was a deflation in terms of price.
Yeah. All right.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit complicated here for me. All right.
First of all, Josh, you're saying that there's two kinds of inflation. There's monetary inflation and price inflation, which is true, but price inflation is caused by monetary inflation, because what inflation is, all inflation is literally is an increase in money supply.
Right.
So when there's more money, even if we were on a gold-backed economy, when you're printing more money for the same amount of gold to be represented by the same amount of gold, obviously, I don't have to explain this to you. It's like taking an analogy I thought of for anybody watching who might not understand. It's basically like taking like a little bit of juice and going, okay, I got this much juice. If I add a bunch of water to it, I'll have more juice. And it's like you're not going to have more juice. You're just going to have watered down juice. You're going to, So I just wanted to interject and say that price inflation is caused by monetary inflation, in case anybody was confused.
Right.
Anybody watching, not you two.
Every single Keynesian on the planet just clicked off of us right now.
See you guys later.
Yeah. Bye, Keynesians.
All right. Sorry. Anyway.
So anyway, getting back to it, the idea was to, maybe it is to understand these terms a little bit better, because a lot of people don't understand the terms, or are confused, or get the terms conflated. And it's understandable, because a lot of people only understand price inflation. They don't understand that it is caused by the monetary inflation. So it is good to go over this basic stuff.
A lot of these people, the only thing that they understand is that when they go to the supermarket and a jug of milk costs $4.25 instead of $3.95, then they're like, oh crap, that's inflation. But they have no clue what causes it, how it's caused, and everything that goes into it.
A lot of times people will say that it's corporate greed.
Yeah.
No, it can be, but it may not be. It's just, just supply and demand equaling out. The market sorting itself out again.
Technically, it is corporate greed, though. Technically.
Sometimes.
Because inflation is caused by if inflation is caused by an increase in money supply, where does our money come from?
Sure.
The Federal Reserve, which is a corporation, which is borrowed, which is printed and basically issued on demand of the federal government, which is also essentially a corporation. So.
Yeah, but you're going into a whole nother level of it now that most people.
If we're talking about how can you talk about inflation without talking about the Federal Reserve, the people who print?
Yeah, I mean you're right. You're 100% right. But most people they don't understand it to that level. Most people believe that the Federal Reserve is a government institution, and is the government printing the money, and they just completely wouldn't understand what you just said right there.
That's just really sad to me that people believe that.
Yeah, but you're 100% right.
The Federal Reserve is about as federal as the Federal Express.
Yeah.
It's not. Which I don't understand how a private company can call them federal anything.
Well, you know what? You're wrong. The Federal Express is the Federal Reserve is a lot less federal than the Federal Express. The Federal Express is actually regulated by the federal government because they're not allowed to deal with, you know, consumer mail products outside of certain regulations that are enforced by the federal government. The Federal Reserve, they've got no regulations. They can print whatever fucking amount of money they want. They can ship their money.
Point, Maury. Great point.
Their money to China. They can ship their money to, you know, whatever. They've no regulation whatsoever.
We have to actually make this mainstream somehow. A lot of people, no, seriously, because a lot of people, like you said, don't understand it to that level. Now, why don't they understand it to that level? It's because it's not mainstream. It's not in the media. We're not going to be able to put it into the mass media, but we need to somehow expand this, you know, make it well known.
Boil it down to, you know, where people can understand it.
Right. Yeah. Let's move on to the minimum wage. I mean, they're almost all related. I mean, they are related. All of this. I saw you guys talking back and forth about minimum wage and such, and I know someone's going to be the antagonist here, so that's a good thing. I kind of want to throw at you, Corey. Let's start off. Now, is the minimum wage bad or good? What are the merits? What are the demerits? All that.
It's a complicated issue, and I know I'm going to get attacked here on it.
Obviously.
I believe at this point right now today, the minimum wage should be raised. But the only reason that the minimum wage should be raised is that the federal government is restricting the free market from almost everything. I mean, in every way that you can imagine, the free market is being, you know, just pounded on by the federal government. They're just, you know, stripping away, you know, rights. I mean, a little girl can't even go and open up a lemonade stand, for fuck's sakes. You know? Can a little girl even open up a lemonade stand? The cops show up, you know, pulling out their guns and saying, you know, shut down this lemonade stand.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't see what that has to do with the minimum wage, though.
Well, it does. It has to do with the economy on every level. If you can't even run a lemonade stand, just imagine being a business owner, you know, and say you open up a business. And this is my experience. I know a lot of small business owners, and I mean actual small business owners that, you know, they pay their workers $9, $10, $12 an hour, but then on the other hand, you got Walmart that is paying people, you know, $6.50 an hour around here.
Why does that matter? Don't work for Walmart.
Well, this is what happens is they put these heavy, high taxes on the small businesses, and what that does is it puts these people out of business. These people that, you know, they work and they put their entire life savings into creating a business, and they're paying their workers a good wage. But then on the other hand, you got places like Walmart or McDonald's that, you know, pay people complete crap that they can't live off of, where people have to work 3 or 4 jobs.
So,
you know,
so what you're saying is that so you're saying that small businesses pay people a reasonable wage, which I agree they do.
They do.
Small businesses, so you're saying that because of that, other bigger corporations should, because they pay people less, they should be forced by government aggression to pay people more. And my answer to that is, if you disagree with the wages that Walmart or McDonald's or Burger King are paying you, don't work for Walmart or McDonald's or Burger King, because take it from me, I didn't graduate high school. I have no high school diploma. I have, not that I'd like to get into details about it, but I have a criminal history on me that's bullshit. But you know,
Well,
tattoos and everything, and I have a job making almost $12 an hour. So if because I decided that I was not going to go work for minimum wage because I decided that I didn't decide. I make the conscious effort to put out more. So wage, like I've told you, Corey, and most people agree. Most free market anarchists agree. Wage should be determined by the output of your labor, whatever your labor is turning out. So if you're getting paid $8 an hour and you're putting out $10 an hour worth of product, you're putting out $2 worth of profit an hour for the business owner. And a business owner needs to profit, otherwise it's not a business, it's a charity. So the bottom line for me is if you minimum, in my opinion, minimum wage, not even in my opinion, general fact, minimum wage laws only affect minimum wage workers. If you're working a job that's paying you minimum wage, that's your bad. You should make the effort to better yourself, get an education, network, get good work experience, and find a better job. Most people that work minimum wage jobs don't do it because it's the only option they have. They do it because it's comfortable or because they don't think they could do better, and they could. And it really just, if I can do better, I'm not trying to down on myself or anything, but if I can do better than a minimum wage job, anybody can do better than a minimum wage job. You just have to, believe that you are worth more than $7.90 an hour or whatever it is. You just have to put yourself out there and find those jobs that will pay you more because they're out there. All you need to do is avoid the large corporations like Walmart and McDonald's that take advantage of people. And yes, they do take advantage of people, but I don't believe that counteracting their taking advantage of people is forcing them to pay people higher wages. Just don't work for them. If they don't have anybody working for them, they will have more positions which need to be filled, and eventually they'll raise their wages because they will have a higher demand for workers than they have a supply of workers. And that's like Corey and I were talking about right before here. We were talking about minimum wage by consensus, where I hate what modern unions have turned into, but I believe that labor unions are a good idea if they're operated and maintained responsibly, or at least workers communicating and organizing and saying, look, we're not going to work for less than this amount of money because we're worth more than that, because we output more labor than that, and we're not going to be taken advantage of by these corporations.
No.
You're starting to sound like an ANCOM a little bit there.
What?
I agree. Because I think that people that are doing the work should organize together and make sure that they're not getting ripped off.
Well, I was meaning the part where you were saying, well, if you work this amount of time and you output $8 worth of labor and you generate $10 worth of profit, then
Then you misunderstood what I said. I'm not saying that profit is bad. I said specifically that a company needs to profit, otherwise it's not a company, it's a charity. So if you're getting paid $8 an hour, if you're getting paid $8 an hour and you're outputting $10 worth of work an hour, you're putting out $2 worth of profit an hour, which is reasonable in my opinion. However, so why if you're putting out $10 worth of labor an hour, why should you get paid $15 an hour? Then you're costing the employer money, which is the opposite goal of a business.
Yeah, if the employer can't profit, then he can't employ you.
Yeah.
He can't pay you to work for him if you're not making him profit.
That's why minimum wage laws are bad, in my opinion, because if you demand $15 an hour and then you're only going to put out $10 worth of labor an hour, you're costing that employer money.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to take it a step further even, and a lot of people make this argument. I think it's a little intellectually biased, but I think it's fair enough for me to say that if you're going to raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour, why don't you raise it to $100 an hour? That way everybody can feel great.
Yeah.
But it's messed up because it won't work, because there are those that are only making or outputting $5 an hour, like Thomas said. So it's It's not going to work at all long term, because people will lose jobs, unemployment will grow, and then they'll become dependent on the government, and the government, well, will implode because it's the initiation of the use of force. It's all it can do is force from the market. Go ahead.
The government's going to implode anyway.
Of course.
Just look at what they're doing. You know, it's gonna,
right. But I'm saying, even because of the minimum wage and the unemployment laws, it's going to implode just by that alone. So the more that they raise the minimum wage, the more that they dish out unemployment benefits, it's going to get worse and worse, and it will implode. Even if we didn't have wars and anything like that, just by that alone, it's going to implode.
Well, you know what's
personally not somebody
a lot faster is the corporate the bailouts, the corporate subsidies,
Right,
but we're not going to that level. I'm just saying.
Well,
we need to keep it on. We need to keep it on track.
A lot faster than
I understand, but I'm just trying to
minimum wage. I mean, minimum wage that doesn't really affect the government at all. If you increase the minimum wage, the government will just suck in more tax dollars off of that. So
it does affect the government.
Perpetuate the system.
It does affect the government because by raising minimum wage laws, you're creating more tax revenue for the government. So it does affect
so you're actually propping up the government.
They try to act like they're doing it. They want it because it's the right thing, because they want people to earn a livable wage. It's just creating more tax revenue. And I personally know some. So I work in a grocery store. I work in the frozen department, particularly. The guy who brings my frozen food in, the truck driver, drives down from Seattle. He's also an anarchist. So whenever he brings my loads twice a week, him and I always get together and kind of, talk about current events and whatnot. And not too long ago, we were talking about the minimum wage stuff because he's in Seattle, and Seattle is in the works of raising to a $15 an hour minimum wage. And he said that his boss has explicitly told people that if that goes through, many people are going to lose their jobs, and the people that do stick around are going to get their hours severely cut because of the benefits and everything also. So that just goes to show you that minimum wage laws that are enforced by government and that are mandatory upon companies, they hurt the workers. They don't help workers. They hurt workers. Why would you voluntarily raise what it costs to hire you?
Right. Let me back up a little bit. I don't think that minimum wage can actually long-term help the government. Because if you're knocking out employees, because they're becoming unemployed, then even if their tax revenue did go up a little bit because of income taxes, it's still going to get rid of workers. They're going to become unemployed, so therefore a tax revenue goes away. So they're probably evening out in that sense, but then they're still sending out more unemployment benefits. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, the unemployment benefits are not paid by the government. Those are paid by the companies. They are required to be paid
subsidized through government.
Huh?
They are subsidized. They're paid for by the employer and by taxpayers.
Right. And we are paying for it at first when we're being paid every check. We're paying into it. It's almost like Social Security. And then when we go and become unemployed, that money comes back to us, even though it's coming from someone else, of course. So, it's kind of a weird cycle.
All right, but on another note, similarly related to that, think of like the NAFTA or GATT things that the Clinton administration did when basically what they did was they cut all taxes on importing goods to the United States, but then what they did was they would heavily tax exports. So all these jobs, all these companies that used to employ Americans, they ship all their jobs over to China. Now they can import their goods to America for free, but if they want to export anything, it costs them a lot of money. So what do? They ship all their jobs over to China, you know?
Yeah.
And now they don't have to pay any of the, they're over in China, there is no worker compensation. There is no, unemployment. There is, none of that. And, you've got people that, a lot of people who disagree with libertarians, especially liberals and, neocons, will tell you, well, if libertarians got control of the government, they would do this. And what they point to? They point to China as an example. What is China? China is a hardcore communist dictatorship, and they're like,
Yeah,
if
it's the opposite of what we want.
the government, they would do like China, or they would do like North Korea, and it's absolute nonsense.
No. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, which basically involves almost everything that we've been talking about. Well, maybe not inflation, but unless you're talking about alternative currency, I guess. But agorism,
Yep.
black market, gray market, free market, and how you can use counter economics to counter the government to not participate in their systems and their schemes, and to not, So let's spend some time talking about that. I guess agorism, black and gray market, alternatives to things that we use now.
Yeah, I actually work in, I guess I would call it the gray market, where what I do is I work on vehicles, I work with computers, I do construction, and a variety of other things, and I kind of work on call. I don't have a 24-hour job where I wake up in the morning, go to work, and I don't do that. But I work on call. Somebody needs me for something, I go and I do it. And if and the pay needs to be right, and I negotiate the pay right off the bat. If you call me up and you say, hey, I need you to clean my hard drive on my computer, and I'm having problems with this and this and this, blah blah. I'll tell you right off the back. I'll say, okay, it's going to cost you $40 for me to look at it, and it might take me 2 hours to do it, and I'm going to want $100 end of the day.
See, and right there, you've determined your own value, and you have made that explicit before offering the contract of employment between you and whoever you're providing the service to. Yeah, no government aggression needed.
Yeah, and if you're not going to pay it, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. And you say good luck finding somebody who's going to do it for that cut rate, and if they do it for that cut rate price, they're going to do a cut rate job.
Yeah. Like, if you take your computer to Best Buy, for the Geek Squad, they want $80 up front, and it's going to cost you probably double that if they, fix it. Me, personally, I say, okay, I'll do it. I'll check it out for $40. I'm not going to guarantee if I can fix it or not. Depends on what's wrong with it. But, I want, if I fix it, that's $100. If I don't, well, I still get that $40. Yeah. That $40 is up front, no matter what.
Right.
And then if I fix it, then it's $100. And if I don't fix it, well, that $40 is up front. Well, I've never walked away with $40 before. So I've never failed to fix a computer that if I said I could do it, I did it. Oh.
Okay. Yep.
Exactly, and that's a perfect example of counter economics. You're working outside of the government, state-controlled capitalism. You're providing your service to somebody who's paying you currency in exchange for it, and there's no government aggression, there's no government interaction, and they don't get their cut, which is something that really irritates me about the market that we live in and exist in today in America. Is why should the government get a cut of things that they had absolutely nothing to do with? Why do they get Why is here's a perfect example why pornography is legal but prostitution is illegal.
Yeah.
Because in pornography is essentially prostitution. It's just video recorded, and it's essentially pornography is okay because it's taxable and the government gets a cut of it.
Yeah, that's because it's on video. It's on video, so there's proof that they did it. So the government can say, "Hey, we have proof that you fucked this guy for money. So now we're gonna charge you a tax."
Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous, and that's why.
If you don't videotape it, there's no proof.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. Like what other? I guess what other alternative, like agorist alternatives, are there that can counteract working within the state?
well, another thing I do is I work on cars. You know, if somebody needs an oil change or something like that, needs an air filter, something on their car, I do that. They call me up and they say, "Hey, can you do this? Can you replace my brakes? Can you do this or that with my car?" Yep, I do it. And I'll say like a brake job. I'll do your front and your back brakes, $100.
Yeah. See, and when you do things like that, you end up making more money doing that than you would have working for a company or a business who was having to pay you less because they have to recoup expenses due to their licensing fees and their taxes and their all the bureaucracy that's involved in running a small business. And it's like if there was no government intervention, if we really had a free market, it would be so easy for people to run their own small businesses that there would be small businesses popping up everywhere for everything, and the people doing them would be, people like to act like people like to talk shit about, market anarchists and say that we just say, well, they try to equate us to being like Christians and saying that, well, their answer to everything is God will do it. Our answer to everything is the market will do it. It's not a cop-out, and it's not bullshit. It's literally, in a free market, there would be so many small businesses out there that you could work for or participate in somehow without all the licensing fees and everything like that. They could afford to pay you more. In turn, every individual working in the free market would have more money. You wouldn't need minimum wage laws, and you wouldn't need taxes either, because if people are making more money, they will have more disposable income to spend on things that they care about, which also includes, but is not limited to, roads and social programs and medical care and all that stuff, dude. People would have just like, I hate to throw a hyperbole about it, but people would they would have so much money they wouldn't know what to do with it.
Probably. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because if you think about all the money that goes into taxes and government programs and government licensing and prohibition and all that shit, it's a lot of money.
This is my number one argument against the statists when they they always come up with these these ridiculous things that, well, if it wasn't for the government, who would do blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be, roads, for example, because you brought up roads. Who will build the roads? Oh my God!
Oh my God, the
roads! But just think about how much money of the tax dollars goes through the bureaucracy of that is the government before it ever reaches the people who ever actually build the roads. You say you got a stretch of road and say it costs $100,000 just to pave this stretch of road, right? How much do you think tax dollars actually went into that $100,000 stretch of road? I will bet you it was about probably 1.5 million. I mean, you just think about the bureaucrats that are sitting back there, putting $50,000 in their pocket here, $50,000 there, and and all the levels of bureaucracy that it goes down through before it actually gets to paying for the road itself.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest
cut.
Who will build the roads? Fuck. Who will steal the money from the road?
Yeah, you have to. What they don't take into consideration is the government is not just some arbiter of all these transactions and all this stuff out of the kindness of their heart. There's a reason that people say the government is a corporation, because it is, because everything it does is with the intention of turning a profit off of things. So when you put a corporation essentially in charge of all your social programs and building your roads and infrastructures and everything that a government is supposed to do, you have to take into consideration their profit point and how much money they're going to be pocketing out of all of this. So you're actually losing money by allowing these people to delegate these things for you when you could be delegating it yourself and cutting out the middleman.
Well, then there's the other side of that where literally every single person on the planet knows that bureaucracies are a waste of everything. They're a waste of time, they're a waste of money, they're a waste of resources. Everyone knows that. And everyone will tell you that, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, whether leftists, rightists, whether they're communists, everyone will tell you that bureaucracies waste everything.
Yeah.
But yet they will sit there and advocate for their bureaucracies at the same time, because they just don't want to admit that their chosen party in the political spectrum is doing the same thing that the party they oppose is doing.
I think it's funny because when you think about a business, you think about how efficient they are compared to a bureaucracy, but yet they have a bureaucracy if it's a large corporation.
Yeah.
And when you have a small business, you don't have that bureaucracy. You're close to the owner, and they make the decision, especially if they're a proprietor. And I know that when I was a proprietor, I had decision-making power. I could just quickly do things, and I had cheaper rates. And then when you go up to a corporation, their prices are usually larger. And then when you go to a government, the price can be about the same as that corporation, but it takes forever to do it. So there's every reason to have a small business. Just bringing it back, if you have a small business, there's every reason to love it because it's got the quality and the price usually. Mm-hmm. And so it's just better to want a free society, if there's such a thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it full circle in that. Anyway.
I know. I can give an example, and this out of my personal life. Okay, right down the road from me, when I go grocery shopping, right? Down the road, I've got I can walk down the street and I can turn to the left, and there's a Walmart. And I can go to Walmart and buy, for example, a pound of roast beef for $7.50, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can take a right instead of taking a left, and there's a little local-owned store there, and they literally bring in, the slabs of cow, and they shave the beef right there themselves.
Right.
And I can get a pound of roast beef for about $6.73, I think it is. Yeah, about $6.73 per a pound.
Yep.
But, I never get an exact pound because they just sit there and shave it right there for me, and weigh it, and I'll be like, okay, it's close enough. Let's do it. You know.
Yeah, but you like that quality. You like that.
Yeah.
You also like the interaction with these people because they're usually a bit more personable because they're told to be, and they want to be because they like that job because everything's more familial, as it were.
And you know what? Those people working at the Walmart that are cutting my roast beef for me at Walmart. If I go there, they're charging me, $7.50 something for a pound of roast beef, and they're making about $7 an hour or whatever, for their minimum wage. Now, if I go down here if I take a right instead and go to that local store, and this guy is literally shaving the beef by hand for me, and I'm getting the higher quality meat products, and that guy, he's getting paid about $12.50 an hour.
Right. Right.
And that's a locally owned store. It's only those big corporations, Walmart, McDonald's, they're the only ones that are paying those crappy ass wages.
I have to interject though real quick because that's not entirely true. I know that I said earlier if you want to be paid accurately for your labor, avoid those big corporations. It's not always those big corporations. It's certain corporations. I work for it's a grocery chain and it's a pretty big corporation. They have it's on the West Coast. And they have hundreds of stores. It's corporate franchise. It's everything. It's the embodiment of a corporation. But certain stores will pay their employees more than others. Certain stores that do a lower volume than my store does pay their employees a lot more than the people that work at my store get paid. So it has a lot to do not with just the corporation, but with whoever's operating the store because.
Yeah, that's a franchise.
If you have a greedy shithead operating the store, they're going to cut costs wherever they can to pocket more fucking money to bring home. So they're going to pay you, $10 an hour instead of $14 or $15 an hour, which they could be paying you. And then it's the small corporations who don't do nearly the volume as those corporations do will pay you more money than those corporations do. So I think it's not as black and white as we've been talking about, where it's big corporations will pay you shit and small businesses will pay you more. It depends on the person operating that business and their integrity as an individual. Some people.
But at the same time, those places. You don't actually have to employ yourself at that place. You can go find another place to work. That's the whole point, right? Because those places that want to pay less shouldn't be in business if people were smart and didn't feel like they were worth nothing. If they realized their worth inside themselves and educated themselves, then they really shouldn't be working for these big greedy people. I mean, but at the same time, we're all greedy. That's the whole point. If you want your money, then act greedy. Go get a better job.
Greed is not necessarily. A lot of people think, and it's not true.
Right.
Greed is not a bad. Egoism is not a bad thing. Profit is not a bad thing. It's just when it comes to fucking other people over for that greed is when, in my personal opinion, it becomes a bad thing. But Josh is absolutely 150,000% right on that. If you work for a company that's paying you shit wages, don't bitch and complain about it and say, well, the government should force my employer to pay me more money because I said so, because things cost money and I need to live. No, go work somewhere else. Go get a better job. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, better yourself. Get an education, network, get experience, put yourself out there. You will find, anybody watching this, absolutely, you will find something better if you put your mind to it. Don't fall into a rut. Don't get lazy and lackadaisical about it, because that's when you end up working at McDonald's for $6 an hour, and you only have yourself to blame.
Yep.
Let me interject some more, because there are those that would not want to go find another job because they feel that it's safe, and there are those that have to go to night school or have to hold two jobs or whatever. So how do they find a job in that instance? You know what? I'll ask the question. Go ahead, Thomas. How do you improve yourself if you?
How do you improve yourself? So the scenario is if you're working at a dead end minimum wage job, how do you improve yourself?
No, two of them. If you're working two.
If you're working two minimum wage jobs, first thing I would say is move to another state, because if you need two jobs to survive, something is wrong. You're spending too much money on something.
I don't
Move
know.
to Somalia?
Yeah, I don't know, Thomas. I don't know if I can agree to that.
Move to another state?
Yeah, what? It's the same principle.
That's totally legitimate, because where I live in Oregon, right underneath me is California. If I lived in California right now, I would be paying 3 times as much for the apartment I live in right now. I would have to work 2 or 3 jobs to do that. When I could just live up here, work one job. I make it just fine on my job that I have right now. And I don't make an extravagant wage. I'm by no means am I upper middle class. I'm lower middle class, if not completely low class.
All right.
I would say if you don't want to move, there's things like going to school, getting an education. I don't know, networking, work. Why anybody is working fast food is beyond me for a minimum wage.
Yep.
No, I would rather be homeless panhandle than work minimum wage or work a minimum wage fast food job, because I would make more money panhandling. I would rather go and sell drugs and take the risk of going to jail than work a minimum wage.
Oh, you druggie, you criminal, you. Oh. I'm gonna send the SWAT teams after you, man.
You're gonna swat me, man? Are you gonna swat me?
I'm gonna SWAT you, man.
Did you hear about that, Josh?
No.
You never heard about swatting?
I don't think I have. I'm curious now.
It's that kid. So people who play Xbox Live, play video games online with other people, have been doing this thing called swatting, where they'll find out information about. It's basically a form of like real life trolling to the extreme, where they find out where you live and your personal information, and they file bogus police reports about you, and they get the SWAT team to come to your house and kick the door in by saying that you are a domestic terrorist or that you killed a bunch of people or something. So
holy crap!
It's just
that's not funny at all.
The internet gone crazy. There's
That's
some
not funny at all.
motherfuckers on the internet, man. Watch out.
Yeah, the main thing that they do is they'll call in a police report of an active shooter.
Yeah.
And when the SWAT team's coming to your door, say you're playing like Call of Duty Black Ops or something, the police are running up to your door, and they can hear the gunshots through your door, because you're playing Call of Duty. Surround sound turned on, you got your stereo cranked up, and the cops are running up the stairs to your door, and all they hear is boom, 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 boom.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not awesome.
Yeah, it's not awesome at all. Yeah, but that's what they do.
It kind of looks like, Josh, how are we doing on time right now?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna do the currency analysis thing, and then we got about 10 minutes left. So
right before you do that, can I just reiterate myself real quick? Yeah. I don't believe that saying, because you guys both, I got the oh from both you guys when I said it. I don't believe that telling people that they should move to another state within this country is unreasonable, and I don't think it's the same thing as telling someone they should move to another country. I'm just saying, because obviously in different states, there are different rates. There's different rates of inflation. Things cost more in certain states than others. I would say that moving out of a state with a very high cost of living to a state with a lower cost of living, I don't think that that's an unreasonable request. I think that's a smart, educated, responsible movement for someone who wishes to get ahead and not have to work 3 minimum wage jobs just to rent a studio apartment and feed their kid. So
I get where you're coming from, Thomas, but at the same time, it is the same principle, because you're saying that the there isn't different of rates of inflation. There's only one rate of monetary inflation in the country, but there is different rates of taxes and different rates that the market will readjust in that state because of those given laws over there. Where you're coming from a market standpoint, if your apartment costs less over there, sure, I would go for it, and I will be doing that in my future. But at the same time, to make that an argument to say, hey, if you don't like the laws here, then just go somewhere else. That's going from statism to statism. It's not going to solve the actual problem underlying all of the earth right now.
I don't feel like that's what I'm doing, though. I'm not saying if you don't like the laws, move. I'm saying it is a reality that it costs more to live in certain states than
Yes.
it does in other states.
Yes.
And like in California, I was thinking about moving to Southern California after last time we visited there because I loved the weather and everything so much, and just the effect it had on my mood. But then realizing that it's like double the cost of living there, it's obviously a smarter business decision for me to live in Oregon, where there's no sales tax. And you're right, Josh. It is a correction to taxes and things like that, because California has insane tax rates. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, I hear you. So anyway, I'm gonna just go through this very quickly. We've got probably about 7 minutes left. So last time we did this show, it was August 25th. Tonight I took these prices at 8:45. Tonight is September 1st, Labor Day, or not Labor Day, whatever you want to call it. So silver last time was 1937. Today it's 1948. That's only 11 cent change. That's about 0.6% change going up. Yay. But it's only 11 cents. So gold went from 1276.75 to 1286.35. That's about a $9.60 change. So that almost went up 1 point. So Bitcoin last time was 501.93. Tonight it's 473.50. That's a drop of 28.43. That's a big change, 5.7% change. It looks like Bitcoin might be sort of evening out a little bit, but not really. There hasn't been a lot of big change between silver and gold over the last few months. And again, that's kind of normal because it's summertime, and I expected more of a drop, actually, but it hasn't dropped too drastically. I think the top it went to was around $22, and it's $19.48 right now, so not too big of a change on silver, and not too big of a change on gold. I remember it was around 1,400, I think, at one point this summer, but again, not too big of a deal. I expect a big rise in price this month. It just happens. Anyway, that's all I've got. So we got a few minutes left. What do you say, Thomas?
So I know you wanted to talk about self-defense, but I feel like that might be better for next week, since that's going to open up a big can of worms. So let's just continue talking about free market economics and why they're. How about we
wrap
Why
it
don't
up
we
in a little.
explain a little bit to any viewers watching who might not fully understand what agorism or free market or counter economics are? You know.
Yeah, in my perspective, I try, not lately, I guess, but I try to buy locally. Go to a farm stand and buy, fresh corn or fresh, carrots, that kind of thing. Um, that's really all I do, and it's kind of sad because, and now I'm getting into K-cups. Like I really like coffee. I always have since high school, but I don't know of any local coffees. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love coffee.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
no, just every time I say something, it just causes a big jam. So.
You just had to interrupt you and say, "Hey, I love coffee."
Hey,
No,
yeah,
no, that's all I got.
coffee. That's all I got.
Yeah, yeah. No, seriously, that's all I've got too. So what do you say, Corey?
Well, I just do what I can in the free market, where I I try to buy everything local as much as I can. I work locally,
Yeah.
and
But is that really a free market though? Buying locally is not necessarily free market
Yeah. Right.
because the small I totally support small businesses and that sort of thing, but those people, the small businesses, they're still getting raped on their tax rates and they're
yeah.
still licensing fees and everything. So is it
Yeah.
better? Is it really better to support local stuff rather than I mean not better I should say because that's subjective.
Well,
Is
well,
it more
what the fuck
free
can we
market
do
to
about
buy
that?
locally than to buy from corporations?
Well, seriously, what the fuck can we do about that? I mean,
No.
if you ask 99% of the Republicans in Congress will tell you Walmart is a small business. And at the same time, all those same people, or Republicans or Democrats really, will tell you that, your local mom and pop bakery down the street where they make you donuts in the morning, fresh donuts, and there's only two people working there. There's the owner, and then there's the two people working there, the dishwasher, and then the whatever baker,
Yep.
and they will tell you that that is a corporation who is trying to take over the world. And we need to tax the fuck out of them because they're the 1%. That little mom and pop bakery is a 1%. While at the same time they tell you that Walmart is a small business.
There's also the way I was trying to do my business. I was trying to create software myself, just me, and work with customers or clients that wanted websites and they wanted custom software. So I would do it myself. Now the problem with that is I did actually become a proprietor with the city that I was in, and then so I got subjected. Theoretically, I really didn't get any profit off of this, so it's not even worth mentioning to them. But the thing is, that was the point. Was to start a business, just do it myself, and you gotta appreciate the small business work ethic. That's what the point is on the Republican side, if you will split the hairs of the state. But so I can understand the want to create a business, but you gotta hate the fact that they are actually following through with the state and taxation and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. On the Republican side, the Republicans will say, as far as the Republican side, they'll say Walmart is a small business. They'll say that ExxonMobil is a small business.
Sure. I appreciate you guys coming on. I gotta wrap it up, and thank you all for watching. Take care.